In this lesson, we will learn how to add and subtract fractions. I'm going to show you all the different types that you can expect. We're going to use proper fractions, we're going to use mixed numbers, but let's get started. So I'll start off with a very easy one. If you say 1 over 6 plus 4 over 6, the golden rule that I want you to remember when you are adding and also if you are subtracting fractions is that this number at the bottom must be the same. It must be the same. So if it is the same, then all you do is you put that same number at the bottom. You don't say 6 plus 6 is 12. You leave the bottom number as it is. Now, with the top number, you say 1 plus 4, which is 5. And there's your answer. But later in this lesson, or actually pretty soon in this lesson, we're going to do examples where, I'll actually do one right now, where the numbers at the bottom are not the same. What if you have 3 over 4 plus 1 over, let's go, 6? Can we now see that the numbers at the bottom are not the same? So what do we do now? Well, you may have heard your teacher say we need to find the lowest common multiple. We need to find the lowest common multiple. So we've looked at multiples before in previous chapters, but you take the number 4 and you take the number 6 and you count in 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Okay? And then you look at the number 6. 6, 12, 18, 24. Now, can you see that the number 12 is in both? And so that is called the lowest common. Common means it's in both, and it's a multiple. So 12 is going to be our magic number. So what it means is we are going to make this number become a 12, and we're going to make this number become a 12. How do we do that? Well, to make this number become a 12, you multiply it by 3, and what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And to make this number a 12, you multiply 6 by 2, and what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And so now we end up with 9 over 12 plus 2 over 12. Now these two numbers at the bottom are the same. And did we not say earlier that that is the golden rule? We need the numbers at the bottom to be the same. When they are the same, then you can put a big smile on your face because then it's easy. So now we know that you keep the bottom number as it is. You don't say 12 plus 12 and make that like a 24. You leave it as 12. Then the top is 9 plus 2, which is 11. All right, so the rest of this lesson, we're going to go into more detail. We're going to do questions where there are going to be 3 of them at a time. I'm going to show you ones where there are mixed numbers. So we've got a couple of good examples coming up that will help us to understand this very well. So here's our first one. Now, we can see that the number at the bottom is the same for both. So we can just put that number. Now, what is 1 plus 4? That'll give you 5. Here's the next one. The numbers at the bottom are not the same. So what we do is we need to go find a lowest common multiple. So you take the number 3 and you count 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. The more you do this, the better you'll get. For example, if you do it for long enough, you won't have to do it like this. You'll just be able to understand exactly what you can use for the lowest common multiple. Now, if I count in 6s, I get 6, 12, 18, 24, and blah, blah, blah. Now, check this out. You might have said the number 12, but look at this. The number 6 is in both. And some of you are like, yeah, but Kevin, isn't that a problem if this one already is a 6? No, you just leave it. You don't have to change that one. So the number we will use is going to be a 6. If you did use a 12, it's actually not incorrect. All that will happen is that at the end, you will have to simplify your answer. In fact, I'll show you how to do that. So I'll show you afterwards, okay? I'll show you over here. Right, so we're going to use the number 6. So this one is actually fine. And then this one, to make that one a 6, we will multiply by 2. So you multiply by 2. And what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And so we end up with 1 over 6 because this one doesn't change. And then this one becomes 8 over 6. Okay, so 8 over 6. Now, when these numbers at the bottom are the same, you leave it. And what is 1 plus 8? 9. Stop right there. This, if you remember, is a improper fraction. Improper fraction. That is when the number at the top is bigger than the number at the bottom. When we have an improper fraction, we can change it, or we must change it. Most schools are going to ask you, most teachers, in fact, they'll ask you to change this to a mixed number. So we need to remember how to change from an improper fraction to a mixed number. So remember, you need to look at this number that's at the bottom, and you need to think about how many times does that number fit inside this number. Well, it only fits in once, right? Then what we do is we put whatever this number is, we put it at the bottom over here. Now, if you multiply these two, what does that give you? 6. So what is 9 take away 6? That'll be 3. Now, we can still simplify this a little bit further. The reason is that we can simplify this part. So the number 3 can go into both of these. So if we divide by 3 for both of them, remember, to simplify means to make it smaller. So we put the 1 over there, that stays as it is. But then the fraction becomes 1, because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. And there's our final answer. Now, I said that you could have also done this question using a different way, and that is over here when we were busy finding the lowest common multiple. Some of you might have chosen a 12. So it doesn't actually have to be the lowest one, but by choosing the lowest one, it just makes our life a little bit easier. But you don't have to. So let's say we chose the number 12. Well, then that means this needs to be multiplied by 2, and what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And this one would need to be multiplied by 4 so that it can become a 12. And what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And so that would end up becoming 2 over 12 plus, what is 4 times 4? 16 over 12. So we have 2 over 12 plus 16 over 12. Now, if these numbers at the bottom are the same, then we leave it like that. And then you just say 2 plus 16, which is 18. Now, we can either convert this into a mixed number, because it's an improper fraction, or we can first simplify. It doesn't matter which way you do it. I'm actually going to first simplify. I know that the number 6 can go into both of these, and so that'll give me 18 divided by 6 is 3. By the way, you could have also said 2. You could have also said 2. Let's do it that way. I think that's easier for most of you. It's a nice small number. And that would have given you 9 over 6, which is exactly what we got over here. And then you would just carry on, and eventually you will get to the same answer. So when you are trying to find your lowest common multiple, the best way is to find the lowest one, but because that makes the numbers easier to work with. But if you can't find the lowest one, and maybe you skip one, that's okay. You will eventually get to the same answer, because we simplify. And that is why teachers always tell you to simplify, because that's the beautiful thing about maths. You might use a different method, but when you simplify, it always leads to the same values, no matter whether you did it using method A or method B or method C. That's why teachers ask you to simplify. Here's our next one. So the numbers at the bottom are not the same. So what we do is we try to find the lowest common multiple. So we say 3, 6, 9, 12. How many should we do? We don't know. But as you practice, you will get better at figuring this out. Now, what about the number 5? 5, 10, 15, 20. We can stop. because look at this, the number 15 is the LCM. So to make this one become a 15, I will multiply by 5, and what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And for this one, I'll multiply by 3, and what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And so this ends up becoming 5 over 15 plus 6 over 15. Now remember, when these numbers are the same, we just leave it like that. And then you just add these together. So 5 plus 6 is 11. Now, is this an improper fraction? No, that's a proper fraction. So we don't convert that into a mixed number. It's not even possible. It is only possible when you have an improper fraction, where the number at the top is bigger. But here we can see the number at the bottom is bigger. So we don't, let's make a little note there. Proper fractions have the bigger number at the bottom. Proper fractions cannot be changed into a mixed. Just a few more examples. All right, so here we have a subtract. Subtract works exactly the same as add. So you need to make sure that the number at the bottom is the same. Okay? Now, if it's the same, then you carry on. 5 minus 1. That'll give you 4. Now, if you look at this, is that a proper fraction or is that an improper fraction? That is a proper fraction because the number at the bottom is bigger. So we don't need to change it to a mixed number. However, we can still simplify this. Why? Remember, simplify means to make it smaller. So I know that the number 2 can go into both of these. You need to get into a good habit of always doing this, okay, guys? So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. All right, so I've just added a little thing that we need to keep reminding ourselves when we get to the final answer. Can your answer be simplified? If you can, simplify it. Is your answer improper or proper? If it's improper, change it to a mixed number. These are things you need to remember, okay? That's how you get good marks. Right, so, but that's only when we get to the final answer, not for now. What we do now is we realize, oh, these numbers are not the same. So what we do now is we go do the multiples of each of them. So 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. This one, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27. This one, 8, 16, Kevin, 24, 32. Can you see that they all have the number 24? Therefore, we can use that as the lowest common multiple. You might say, yeah, but what about 12? Yeah, but this one doesn't have 12, so it has to be in all three. So 24 is the number. So how would you get this one to 24? You multiply it by 4. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. What about this one? You multiply it by 8. And what about this one? You multiply it by 3. And so now what happens is that we have 24 at the bottom. Now what is 3 times 4? 12. Then there's a minus over here. See there? So we say minus. Now 24 at the bottom. And then this one will be an 8. Then we say plus. Then we've got 24 at the bottom. And then over here we've got 3. Now it's easy. We know that when these 3 are all the same, that's a good thing. Now we can just add and subtract. So the final answer will have a 24 at the bottom. And so what is 12? Now you just go from left to right. What is 12 minus 8? That's 4. What is 4 plus 3? That's 7. Now, can your answer be simplified? Is there a number that can go into 7 and 24? No, there isn't. Okay, so the answer is simplified. Now, is your answer a improper fraction or is it a proper fraction? Well, you need to know this. So you see how the number at the top is smaller than the number at the bottom. That is a proper fraction. So we cannot change it to a mixed number. A mixed number can only happen when you have an improper fraction, which is when the number at the top is bigger, like 10 over 7. When the number at the top is bigger, then it's improper. Okay, 2 more examples. Well done if you've made it this far. Okay, now here we have an interesting one, because here we have mixed numbers. Ooh, okay, we haven't done that before. So what you need to do is, whenever you have mixed numbers with fractions, change them to improper fractions. Okay, so that's the first step. If you are given mixed numbers, change to improper fractions. Now some of you are like, yeah, but Kevin, here you said if it's improper, you said we must change it to a mixed number. Now you're telling us if it's a mixed number, change it to an improper. Ah, good question. Here I'm talking about at the final answer. Here I'm talking about what they give you in the very beginning. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is when here I'm talking about the answer. Here I'm talking about what they give us in the beginning. So in the beginning, they gave us some mixed numbers. So we need to change that. So can you remember how to change numbers into improper fractions, or mixed numbers into improper? Well, you first multiply these two together, which is 12. And then you say 12. Remember, you always put this number at the bottom, okay? And then you say 12 plus 5 is 17 minus. Now I'm going to put this 3 over here. Okay, now you multiply these two together, so that's 1 times 3, which is 3, plus 1 is 4. There we go. And so here we had a more familiar kind of place where we realize that these two numbers are not the same, so we just need to go get the lowest common multiple. So if you count in threes, you get 3, 6, 9, 12. If you count in sixes, you get 6, 12, 18. Now, can you see there's a 6 in both of them? What that means is we can just leave this one as it is and multiply this by 2, and then what you do to the bottom, you do to the top, so that you now end up with 17 over 6, take away 8 over 6, and that'll end up giving you, what is 17 take away 8? That is 9 over 6. Now, can the answer be simplified? Yes. This can be made a little bit smaller. So I know that the number 3 can go into both of those. So that'll become 3 over 2. Now, is your answer an improper fraction? Yes, it is. When the number at the top is larger than the number at the bottom, that is called an improper fraction. And so it says, change it to a mixed number. Most teachers are going to ask you to please write your final answer as a mixed number. So how does that work again? Well, you take this number at the bottom and you write it under your fraction. Now, how many times can the number 2 go inside the number 3? Well, that's only once. Now, what is those two multiplied together? That'll give you 2. And so then you say 3 minus 2, which is 1. And so there is the final answer for this question. Here's the final question for this video. So the first thing you need to realize is that we have a whole bunch of mixed numbers here. So we want to get rid of that first. So the first step is you say 2 times 6, which is 12. Let's first put an equal sign here, and let's say over 6. So you say 2 times 6, which is 12. 12 plus 5 is 17, okay? Minus, now you put it over 3. Now, 1 times 3 is 3, and 3 plus 1 is 4. And then this one over here, you write it over 4. So you say 2 times 4, which is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. Okay, now if you look at these bottom numbers, they are not the same. So we need to go and find the lowest common multiple with 6, 3, and 4. So we count in sixes, 6, 12, 18, 24. Count in threes, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Count in fours, 4, 8, 12, 16. Can you see that they all have a 12? So in the next step, we will try to change all of these bottom numbers into 12. So we'll do that by multiplying this with a 2. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Here we'll multiply this by a 4 so that it becomes a 12. And then this one you'd multiply by 3 because 4 times 3 is 12. And what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Now that becomes 17 times 2. That is 34 over 12 minus, what is 4 times 4? 16 over 12. What is 9 times 3? 27 over 12. Now we have 12s at the bottom, so life is good again. And so we can say 34 take away 16, which is 18. And then 18 plus 27. What is 18 plus 27? 45, hey? Yeah, because that would give you that. Yeah, 45. So 45 over 12. Now remember, can your answer be simplified? Yes. The number 3 can go into both of these. So we're going to divide by 3 at the top and the bottom. And so that's going to become 15 over, what is 12 divided by 3? That is 4, okay? Now, can you simplify it any further? No, you can't. Now, is your answer an improper fraction? Yes, it is. When the number at the top is larger, that is an improper fraction. So we need to change it to a mixed number. So with your mixed number, you always put the 4 at the bottom because that's a 4. Now, how many times can 4 fit into 15? Well, if you count in 4s, 4, 8, 12, 16. Okay, 16 is a little bit too much, so 4, 8, 12. So that was 3 times. Okay, and what was 3 times 4? That gave us 12. So what is 15 take away 12? That'll be 3. And so there would be the final answer for this one.